What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Action Network podcast presented by DraftKings. I'm your host, Chris Raybon. This is our NFL Week 11 betting preview. We're going to talk sides, totals, props, moneyline underdogs, anytime touchdowns, and of course, we'll build our Sunday six-pack of Against the Spread bets with the help of my co-host, the Prime Minister of Degenerate Nation, Stuckey. Stuck, how's it going? Finally, I think gained a point or two on you last week, but overall kind of break even for the pod. How you feeling?
Yeah, thanks to me. I mean, that was probably my worst Sunday I've ever had betting the NFL because, I mean, I've had worse days losing money, lost more money, but I bet the Falcons early in the week before the Gardner news. So I had +6 there. So I didn't get the best of the number that pushes in overtime. I bet the Ravens first half, and they just kick a bunch of field goals and then they end up covering the full game. And then just a couple terrible calls on top of that. So, yeah, it was a bad week for the pod for me. All good things must come to an end. At least, I mean, we did get the money line parlay home, which was nice. Total was pretty easy, but a bad week. But as always, who cares? We're on the next week. Time to start another run.
All right, let's start off with first of all, any quick thoughts? We'll jump into the six pack in a second, but any quick thoughts on the Jets and the Patriots? The spread is up to 13. The total is 43. Patriots been playing really well. Jets threw for 54 yards last week.
Yeah, I mean, I can't get to this number. I mean, what the Patriots a month ago were what, laying 7 to the Titans at home? They've obviously just risen up the power rating since, but I I can't get this high, so I can't bet the Patriots, but I also can't bet the Jets. There's a number of reasons, just matchup reasons. Got to throw on the Patriots, can't run on them. How are the Jets going to move the ball? And now you might see the loss of, like last week, it didn't matter as much against the Browns, but the loss of Gardner, the loss of Williams against this Patriots offense, and they'll be able to hit some explosive plays. The Drake made deep ball right now is just a cheat code. So yeah, and then also you have first time head coaches on Thursday Night Football have historically been extremely poor, straight up and against the spread. Kind of just like you got to prepare a team for a short week and they're not used to it. So there could be some signal there. Maybe it's just noise, but it's mainly a matchup thing. Like you can't run the ball on the Patriots. You got to throw on them. The Jets can't throw. No Wilson either. How are they moving the ball? How are they keeping up? And now you have your two of your best players you traded away, and that might show up here. So yeah, matchup spot screams Patriots, but price matters. So probably sit on the sidelines. The one case I would make for the the Jets, like how I could see the Jets covering. I mean, eventually this team's going to get a turnover or two. It's getting like insane. Like they are -10 turnover margin on the season. They don't have an interception. I believe they're only the second team with no interceptions at this point in the season over the past 25 years. They fumbled it 10 times, lost 7. Their opponents have fumbled it 9 times, only lost 1. Like, if there's a team that's due for a couple bounces, it's the Jets. So, if you get a couple turnovers here, probably be in good shape or have a pretty good shot to cover, 13 in a divisional game on the road with a low total. But that's like the only case I can make is just like turnover regression because everything else from a matchup perspective screams Patriots. So with the price where it is, I just can't get there on New England. So it's probably a pass.
Yeah, I'd maybe look into Jets team total under something like that. Jets are actually popping in our luck rankings, I believe, for the past like month. They are not a luck side this week, and it's probably because they had Wangu and Williams, two guys that I think are two of the better returner men in the league, score against the Browns. So now you're probably not getting that, even if you get some turnover, just like like you said, how are you going to score? So, yeah, it's probably just a pass for
At
me.
14, I mean, if this keeps going at 14, I might have to take a small bet on the Jets, just from a numbers perspective.
Maybe we see
That's a little
some.
crazy.
Maybe we see some AD Mitchell, he was inactive in his first game, but apparently the Jets were emphatic about him being included in the Sauce Gardner deal. So I don't know, it seems kind of like the smartest thing they've done in a while, but we'll see. All right, six pack 35-26. Still got a lot of work to do. You're up first. Yeah, where are you going this week? Week 11, already halfway through the season, 11 more to go.
By the way, the NFL is like it can't just be me. The NFL, it's like the most boring I can ever remember. And I think there's too many bad teams, maybe. Um,
You don't like 3 44-22 games in the late window? Or
and like they're also because it used to be like they're kind of there's a lot of overexposure too, and then we're getting fed all these time slots with all these bad games. So it kind of just wears on you, I think. I mean, we haven't had a great primetime game in like a
yeah,
month and a half. Um,
too
I
many
mean, like
Steelers, too many
Steelers, Bengals
Eagles. Yeah,
was the
yeah.
last one, like Jags, Chiefs. I mean, that feels like 2 months ago. And then like these London games, these Europe games. At least we got a decent one this past week. But and then you end up only having like 3 games in a late window, and they're bad. Like, so
We've been getting some good. I think you know what it is too. It's we've had a lot of good like the early window games have been like that Jaguars Texans game the other day. It's like we tend to see like all these crazy games and they're not happening in prime time for whatever reason. So, but
yeah,
yeah, I feel
they're
you.
also just. I think there is just too many bad teams right now. Um, that's pretty problematic for the league. The league operates best, and it's the most entertaining when like there's more extreme parity, which I don't think we have at the moment. But
Well, aren't favorites still? Our favorites are still up on the year, right? If I'm not mistaken. So
yeah,
that yeah, so that's kind of I think I don't. Do you think it has anything to do with just like the emergence of? I was thinking about this like just the emergence of like these advanced metrics and stuff like that, and
yeah, fourth downs I think have something to do with it. Teams making
yeah,
more EV decisions, and um, yeah, for sure that plays a part.
it seems
But
like if a team has if a team has a big advantage at quarterback, like in terms of EPA or anything, it's like it's really those teams rarely lose. It's usually when you just have two kind of like up in the air situations where you can kind of go like each go both ways with that. It's where you see some upsets, but I don't feel like we're seeing as many upsets either. But
yeah,
where are you going?
all right. For my first pick of the Week 11 Sunday six pack, I'm going with the Minnesota Vikings -3 at home against the Chicago Bears. Number one, I think this line should be 3.5, and I think it would be 3.5 if the Bears didn't have 4 crazy comebacks over the Giants when Dart got hurt, the Bengals, a luck box win over the Raiders by 1, and a luck box win over the Commanders by 1. They're 6-3. They easily could be 3-6. I mean, this team has basically just benefited from turnover luck on defense. They're plus 14 on the season. They have 8 fumbles, only lost 2. Opponents have 9 fumbles, lost 7. If you remove turnovers, this Bears defense, especially without Gordon and Johnson, they're 30th in EPA per play. They're basically right at the same level as the Bengals and Cowboys, who are historically bad. They're 31st in dropback EPA. And if you remove turnovers on early down EPA, dead last in the league, which is more predictive. No turnovers, early downs. They're worse than the Bengals, worse than the Cowboys. And I mean, Caleb has been much better this year than last year, but I mean, he's faced the Giants, the Saints, the Cowboys, the Raiders, the Commanders, the Bengals. I mean, these are the 6 worst defenses in the league, and those basically are their wins this year. They have a 35% strength of schedule. Teams that have played 35% winning percentage. That's worse than the league by far. Their strength of victory is even worse. Like I said, their wins are Cowboys, Commanders, Raiders, Saints, Bengals, and Giants, and they probably should have lost 3 or 4 of those games. This defense can't stop a nosebleed. I get McCarthy's been bad. Do I love laying points with JJ McCarthy? No, but I think even this offense will be able to do whatever it wants. They'll be able to run the ball. The Bears don't have anyone to cover their receivers. I think Grenard should play on the defensive side of the ball. Ham recently back. They could get Kelly back at center. The rest of the team is pretty healthy. They do lead the league in pressure rate overall and when not blitzing. And look, the Bears' run game has been great. Ben Johnson really has that cooking basically over the last month and a half. But number one, look who they played. And number two, the Vikings' run defense is on an upswing since they got healthy, like Cashman, Van Ginkel. I mean, if you look over the past 2 weeks, they went to Detroit, held the Lions to 3.3 yards per carry. And then last week against the Ravens, they held Baltimore to 4.2 yards per carry on 36 carries. So their run defense is much better than the metrics suggest. And then I think what's going to happen is Caleb in passing downs. I mean, he's basically just bailing out of the pocket and he's 180ing out of the pocket and then trying to make something happen. It's not been efficient, but he's hitting a lot of explosive plays. But a lot of that has come against the easiest schedule of opposing defenses of any quarterback that any quarterback has faced this year. I think there's going to be too many negative plays against the Flores defense. So yeah, I'm back in the Vikings here in a pretty much save your season spot at 4-5 against a 6-3 Bears team that's been extremely fortunate due to turnovers with one of the three worst defenses in the league, maybe four if you want to put the 49ers in there in their current state. So and yeah, by the way, I mentioned who the Bears have played, basically nobody. I mean, the Vikings past 4 games have come against the Eagles, Ravens, the past 5 games, Eagles, Ravens, Chargers, Lions, and Packers. So they've been on a pretty brutal stretch here. We'll get and McCarthy in particular will get a nice break against this Bears defense. So yeah, I'm going to take Minnesota 3 or better. I think is good here.
Yeah, the Bear. I had to do a double take when I saw the Bears were 6-3. I mean, it seems like every game they just eke out too. But like it's pretty nuts. But we came into the year. I think you and I were high on the Bears and we were high on the Packers. If we got the Eagles to take care of the Lions, we'd have the Packers could take care of the Jameis Giants. We'd have those two teams. It's just that now you're betting against the Bears here. So like if the Bears win this game, like we would have Bears Packers, I think, number 1 and 2 in that division. So
Yeah, the problem is the Bears' schedule gets much tougher. The Packers just got to get healthier. We'll see. We'll talk about that game in a bit. But Jenkins going on IR doesn't help matters at center. And then obviously losing Tucker Kraft was pretty
huge.
big blow. But yeah, I'm going Minnesota -3. Where are you going?
Okay, for my first pick, second overall of the week 11 Sunday 6-pack, I'm going with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers plus 5.5 at the Buffalo Bills. And this is a pretty simple handicap for me. The Buffalo Bills offense, it over the past maybe since Joe Brady got hired a couple years ago, midseason, it really kind of trended toward the run. And in that time, they've let Stephon Diggs go. They've gotten into this kind of mode where they're like, okay, in big games, we're going to let Josh Allen kind of bail us out, run more. And otherwise, we're just going to run the ball and everyone eats on offense. But it's kind of devolved into the situation where they have to run to be successful. And I know Tampa gave up some explosives to New England last week to Henderson, but overall, I still think Tampa Bay's run defense on a down-to-down basis is one of the best in the league.
Yeah, they're number 1 right there with Cleveland in success rate, rush success rate.
Right. And so, it's Buffalo, it's Cook. He's probably going to get an explosive. Not scared of that at all. But this Tampa Bay defense matches up well from that perspective. And Josh Allen and it's the numbers are showing in the blitz too, because Josh Allen really hasn't beaten the blitz to the same extent, that he has in the past. Tampa Bay does like to blitz a lot. So this is going to be a tough matchup for Buffalo to consistently generate offense through the air yet again. And I really think it comes down to the fact that they put way too much on Coleman, and a guy who there was no guarantee, especially after seeing him last year, that he was going to turn into anything. Now you got, Shakir looks like he practiced, but he's on the injury report. Ton of guys on the injury report for Buffalo coming off that. Yeah, Kincaid is big too, because I think Kincaid, he's not your normal tight end that he only is good against zones, which Tampa Bay does play a lot of, so he would be useful here. But he can beat some of that man coverage. And Tampa Bay, say what you want about them. We always kind of try to, you know, call them a little bit overrated, and they probably have been at numerous times, but very well coached team. Todd Bowles kind of stays out of the way in offense, and the defense tends to be coached well, even, no matter who's in there. So I just think in this spot, given that they have a good run defense, they're going to be able to not give up, like a 40 burger to Buffalo here. It's going to be raining, or it's going to be weather. Weather's coming into play. That helps Tampa Bay more because Tampa Bay can stop the run. Buffalo can't. And Tampa Bay starting to get, even though Bucky's been out, and he's going to be out again, they're starting to get Tucker involved. I think he gives them a little extra in the run game compared to just Rashad White. And this Tampa Bay, we know Baker Mayfield is going to pull some plays out of his ass regardless who they're playing. Buffalo is going to kind of sit back in its zones. A lot of guys injured on defense. Buffalo also, up front, Oliver and a lot of guys that are usually in there aren't in there. So, and I don't know what's up with all these guys on the injury report. I'm guessing it was just because of the traveling to Miami and everyone's going to play. But Buffalo,
yeah, they were all back at practice in a limited fashion for what it's worth.
Yeah, like we all kind of came in. Even I think last week might have mentioned like Buffalo was really, oh no, it was 2 weeks ago against the Chiefs. Like Buffalo is not the same Buffalo necessarily that it was. It's not the team I think I thought they were going to be coming into the year. That would just run away with everything. And then you even look at some of the wins they have. I mean, that Baltimore win, very improbable, and it was when Baltimore was probably in a worse state than we thought. They beat the Jets. That was their second biggest win of the year was the Jets 30-10. So, Jets are garbage. And they beat the Panthers 40-9, which okay, it's not really that impressive. So they get the Chiefs. Yes, back them in that spot. Always got to back them as a dog, but I think this is too many points here. I think Tampa Bay matches up well. And the fact that it's going to be weather, number one, it pulls the total down. The total was, I would have projected this total above 50, all things considered, if there was no weather involved. But, the total's down to 48. That helps the dog. The line hasn't really changed. But, and then the matchup, if it's going to be a more run-centric game, I still think that helps the dog in Tampa Bay just because of their run defense. And Buffalo's run defense has been horrible. So that's kind of the equalizer here. And then Tampa Bay with their blitzing, it's not as simple as Josh Allen just kind of standing back there and just running away from people. It's a little more complicated with the blitzes. So give me Tampa Bay plus 5.5. I don't think we're going to get a 6, but might as well wait at this point. But either way, love Tampa Bay against Buffalo in Buffalo.
I can't get there. I think I would need 6.5, 7 to consider Tampa. I mean, we'll see. I mean, maybe if Buffalo is stubborn and just runs it too much, then yeah, they're probably going to keep Tampa in this. But they do, and Tampa does blitz, and the best way to slow down Josh Allen is to blitz. You want to play a lot of man on some early downs because of their receivers, but then on like known passing downs, if you blitz, play zone on the back end. If you look over the past 3 years, that's like the one kryptonite of Allen. He's still very good, but nowhere close to as good in
makes
all
Tampa Bay
the
a near perfect
situations.
matchup then.
Yeah, but this Tampa offense is without Irving, they don't have this. Their running game is just. I mean, maybe Tucker gives them a little bit more juice, but their offense has been in the tank for a month. Baker Mayfield is not moving. He's not scrambling at all.
Yeah, he hasn't been moved. That is
So when's the last time he had a scramble? Like a month ago?
4 weeks ago. Yep.
So that's problematic because, and then you mentioned some of the Bills wins. I mean, the Bucks also they started like what 5-1 with wins by a total of 5 points. Like they were very fortunate. The last time their offense had life was against that 49ers defense, um, who is with all those injuries is like poverty level. But against the Saints, they couldn't do anything. Um, I mean, they averaged what, like 3 yards per play in that game.
But it was a very conservative game plan on the short week going into the bye.
But still, against the Lions with all their backup D-backs, I mean, it looked like the Lions had 5 All-Pros in the secondary. Baker couldn't hit anything. And they averaged 3 yards per carry. Baker was 4.6 yards per attempt against that Lions D. And then last week against the Patriots, like they had a late garbage time touchdown, but before then they had 16 points at home against the Pats D, and like it's not an elite defense. So I have concerns about the Bucks offense right now. And Allen off a loss at home. I I don't want to get in front of them. But I'll have more on this game later. For my second pick and the third overall, the Week 11 Sunday six pack, I'm going with the Cleveland Browns plus 8.5 against my Baltimore Ravens. This is my favorite time to bet the Browns. I've done it all three times this year, and when they play at home. Past 3 years, their defense at home is like arguably the best unit in the NFL. You could go look at EPA per play, success rate differential. It's insane. They shut down pretty much any offense they face. I mean, at home this year, by the way, this is like their first home game in a month. Um, they've only played three home games all year somehow. But at home this year, they should have beat Burrow, held them to 17 points. They beat Love, held the Packers to 10, beat the Dolphins, held them to 3. And six of their other 9 games have been away from home. The past 3 years, you want to hear something crazy? The past 3 years, the Browns at home are 62% against the spread. On the road, they're 5 and 17. 22.7%. Worse than the league. They're worse than the Titans, who never
Okay.
cover.
Yeah.
5 and 17 against spread. And by the way, as a touchdown plus dog at home over the past 3 years with that defense, 3-0 against the spread, they won all three outright. They beat the Packers, they beat the Ravens last year, and they beat the 49ers last year, all as touchdown plus dogs. Additionally, there's going to be bad weather here. There's going to be high winds, high wind gusts. It's going to be cold. That helps Cleveland exponentially. They don't have a downfield passing attack. There's no explosive passing. So that's going to hurt the Ravens much more. And by the way, whenever the Ravens can't run, they never can run it against Cleveland. I mean, look back earlier this year that Derrick Henry could barely get a yard, and this is arguably the first or second best run defense in the NFL. The Ravens' run D is still vulnerable without Matabuke and company on the defensive line. They had some issues at linebacker. I mean, last week the Vikings averaged, I don't know, 6 yards per carry. That's still not fixed. They still can't cover tight ends, and they struggle to defend short passes. Like that's the entire Browns offense. Like if the Browns can run it a bit, they can eat the clock up. If they can't, they're screwed. And by the way, I mean last week they outplayed the Jets. They gave up two special teams touchdowns. So yeah, I think the weather conditions will really help Cleveland. And this is just we haven't seen their defense at home in a while, and people forget what their defense does at home. And Baltimore on the season's 27th in success rate against the run, 26th in rush EPA. Still very problematic. And from a health perspective, I think this is key. The Ravens aren't fully healthy. They were fully healthy for a week. It was fun. They had no one on the injury report last week, but I don't think Bateman plays. Humphrey is banged up. Um, and Lamar, I was expecting more off extended rest as far as how he looked mobility wise. And it's just not there yet, the explosiveness in the running. And that's big against this pass rush, which I think is going to live in the backfield. And that's what makes Lamar Lamar. And then you throw in the conditions. It's I think it's going to be tough for this Ravens team to consistently move the ball. He just didn't look 100%. He took a lot of bad hits. Now you're going to be like in the cold and wind and rain with that hammy. I assume they probably want to be a little cautious with him. And you know, you got the whole season left, and I don't think this is the worst matchup for the Browns. But basically, I'm just trusting the Browns' home defense against the Ravens. I think this is a bit too many points. You'll get Cleveland's best effort here, and Cleveland's pretty much 100% healthy. Alex Wright is the only one who didn't practice today. I think that's it. So yeah, give me this Cleveland defense at home catching over a touchdown. I mean, I bet them all three home games this year. Probably will bet them at home a couple more times. This will be the fourth, and they really should be 3-0 with wins over the Dolphins, Bengals, and Packers. So this is just a different team at home. I can't explain it. I don't know why their defense falls off so much on the road, but and the conditions will only help them. So yeah, give me Cleveland plus 8.5.
They probably just remember they're the Cleveland Browns when they go on the road. They're like, oh, it's hopeless, and it's no effort. But I mean, you got the best defensive player in the league essentially, and you're at home. Elements. I think that they got some swag at home. All right. Before we move
So far, I'm
on,
betting McCarthy and Gabriel.
I mean,
I'm
hey, at
not
least I
betting
got.
Ward. Otherwise, I'd have the three worst quarterbacks in the league so far statistically.
Yeah, yeah. I got Baker, but I'm betting against Allen, so that doesn't feel great either. But before we get to the last three picks, there's a quick and easy way for you to tail us. First, sign up for Action Pro. You'll get instant notifications when any Action Network expert tracks a bet, whether that's myself, Stuckey, Brandon Anderson. You want to get those right away. Plus, you can access our pro projections powered by Sean Kerner and our predictive analytics team and a ton of other benefits as well. Just go to actionnetwork.com/pro and get $20 off the annual price with the promo code POD20. That's POD20. Don't miss out on the best bets at the best prices. Visit actionnetwork.com/pro and use promo code POD20 to get $20 off a year of Action Pro. The rest of our Sunday six pack is coming up, but first I'll throw it to myself for a quick word from our sponsor. The Action Network podcast has teamed up with DraftKings Sportsbook, where new customers can bet $5 and get $300 back in bonus bets if your bet wins, and 3 months of NBA League Pass. If sports betting is not yet available in your state, don't worry. You can still join in on all the fun with DraftKings daily fantasy sports and have a shot to win cash prizes. To get started, use promo code Action Network when signing up with DraftKings. Again, use code Action Network when signing up with DraftKings and bet $5 to get $300 back in bonus bets if your bet wins, plus 3 months of NBA League Pass. The crown is yours. All right, for my second pick, the fourth overall of the week 11 Sunday six pack, I'm going with the Washington Commanders +3. There's +3s out there, there's +2.5s out there. Try to get a 3, obviously key number, but this is as simple as I can't get to this number. It's a neutral field. I thought this line was going to be about a pick 'em or something. Miami's been playing a little better lately. Washington just put another corner on IR, so they're poverty in the secondary. I mean, their secondary is just horrible.
Well, then Payne decided that he didn't want to play last week. So he's suspended.
They're all. I mean, it's a mess. The Washington defense is a mess. Let's get that out of the way.
Yeah, there's no one left.
Yeah, this is not why we're betting on Washington, because we think their defense is going to magically improve. Well, I mean, hey, the coach is calling the plays now, I guess, so maybe that'll help. I don't know. But that's about the only thing Washington has going for it on defense. However, Miami, what are we really backing here with Miami? Like, how does Miami get? But Miami's now a 2.5 3-point favorite in this spot on a neutral field. Like that. How are we getting to this number with Miami? I don't know. Miami's defense is just as poverty level. They just happen to run into Buffalo and the humidity laying an egg. The Falcons without Drake London last minute, and that's basically what they've done. Positively over the past couple of months.
Well, they play without Penix too.
Yeah, exactly. Cousins. So yeah, it's the Falcons. Yeah. So what are we really? This Dolphins defense, all things considered, just as bad to me as this Washington defense. Now, yes, Washington maybe a little worse in the secondary. But remember, Miami traded guys. This is not a good Miami defense at all. And then offensively, I know Washington's without Terry. Miami's without Tyreek Hill. Miami, their offense, it's Devon Achane or bust, really. Waddle, okay. But Tua Tagovailoa, now, he goes from playing some teams that, a little more zone heavy. Washington will still, hard-headed or not, they'll still play man, they'll still blitz, just kind of create some havoc. The way these Dolphins have won over the past couple of weeks when they've won is Tua has thrown 20 passes per game in those games. They haven't really had to do anything through the air. So they haven't had the chance to create havoc on Tua, which in this game, there's just two bad defenses. I think there's a lot of luck involved there. I just can't get to Washington being 3 points worse. It's just two teams with terrible defenses, offenses that are kind of missing key pieces. And the market is now higher on Miami because they're putting puff pieces out in the media about McDaniel and him beating and him kind of beating his his alcoholism, and it's like the market's just way too high on Miami for me. I don't have these teams separated by this much. Marcus Mariota and this offense, it's going to be able to move the ball on Miami's defense. Like Miami's defense is nothing special. And I just think that in this matchup, I'd rather have a quarterback who can move more than Tua can. And two bad defenses. I'll take a 2.5 3-point dog any day in a neutral field. So give me Washington laying 3 against Miami in where are we? In London? Is this London or is this Germany? I don't even know where we are.
Spain.
Yeah, Spain. Okay, yeah. Give me Washington laying 3 in Spain with apparently. I mean, I guess Payne is some of the guys have quit, but if you look at Washington's strength of schedule too, like I mentioned, Miami. Buffalo looks like a great win on paper, and it is. I'm not going to take anything away from them, but it's still one of those games that Buffalo kind of historically struggles against in going on the road to Miami, coming off a big win against Kansas City. But you look at who Washington has played, and it's hard to expect anything but just poverty defense. Detroit, Seattle, Kansas City in Kansas City, Dallas in Dallas. Those are the 4 teams Washington's played over the past month. They lost by 1 to Chicago, and then they beat the Chargers, handily in LA. And they put up 27 in a 1 possession loss to the Falcons before that. So like Washington's schedule has been very, very tough. So we might still not have the full picture of them. They clearly are terrible on defense, but I'm just betting that they're not quite as terrible as the market thinks overall. And I think Miami, this might be the top of the market. Like they're not getting a better win than the Bills this year. Like they're just not getting it. Even if you look at the schedule, there's no way they can. So give me Washington against Miami. I just didn't ever think we'd get to this number.
Yeah, I mean, maybe Washington plays more. I think you want to play zone against Tua. Not man. I mean, historically, he's done much better against man.
They're gonna blitz. They'll probably blitz though, and I just don't think Tua's.
But I think that you probably want to play zone. Like, I don't even know who their corners are this week.
Oh my God, it's probably Iganogbany again.
Well, because Jones is is hurt.
You're gonna have probably Sanders still, Igmanagi.
Yeah, Sanders still will be out there, but like I don't even know if they have another guy on
the practice squad. Good. We don't need any of these corners. Like
Antonio Hamilton.
Out of here.
Antonio Hamilton.
Get all these corners the hell out of here, man.
But maybe they play more zone, which is I think zone and blitz and change things up. But I guess you have to take the things here.
Isn't that Dan Quinn, like the OG Dan Quinn would have played more zone? I don't know, like this whole scheme is kind of a little far into me for Dan Quinn defense, but he said he's taking over the play calling for a bit. So I just feel like we're at the bottom of the market, Washington, top of the market, Miami. So yeah, that's
fair. All right, for my 3rd pick and the 5th overall, the Week 11 Sunday 6-pack, I'm going with the Jacksonville Jaguars +3 at home against the Chargers. Just can't get to this number. I think it should be like 1.5 based on my numbers. The Chargers can't block anyone right now. I mean, and they have to get rid of the ball within a second to do anything on offense. I mean, Herbert had 2.25 seconds to throw versus Pitt. It's only 5 games that happened this year for any quarterback. The highest pressure rate before this past week was 28%. Herbert was at 44%. I mean, that's insane. You're getting rid of the ball in 2 seconds and facing a 44% pressure rate. So, yeah, I mean, this team, they're laying 3 on the road against a competent team without an offensive line. And since they've had these offensive line issues, this is what the Chargers have done on the road. They beat the Raiders, Titans, lost to the Giants, and barely beat the Dolphins. Like that's what they've done on the road so far this year. And the Jags haven't been at home in over a month. And they've gone 1-3 in their past 4. They've played their losses were the Rams, Seahawks, and Texans. And the Texans, they were up 20. But those are 2 of the better teams in the NFL. And then Texans are the best defense in the NFL. This will be a nice break. Most importantly, the Chargers' run defense is not great. I mean, below average in most metrics, bottom 3 in explosive runs allowed. That is usually my handicap when I look at Jags games. Can they run the ball? And by the way, all the teams they played lately have really good run defenses. The Chargers do not. They should be able to run it here. By the way, I think they get Brenton Strange back. Huge. I've been saying that for a month, especially in the red zone. Brian Thomas back at practice today. Jacoby Myers another week in the system. And if Herbert doesn't have any time, he can't attack the Jags safeties down the field often, and their safeties are pretty beat up. You don't want Andrew Wingard trying to cover back there. So, yeah, I think Jags are a bit undervalued here. They'll be able to run the ball, do some things. They've been much better at home this year. I mean, remember, this is the team that was catching 3 at home and beat Kansas City earlier this year. I'm not a believer in this Chargers team right now with the state of their offensive line. It's gonna just crumble games, especially on the road. So I think this line's too high. I think 3 is way too generous. Give me the Jacksonville Jaguars. And by the way, this game is enormous for playoff implications, playoff seeding. I think it's the highest leverage game uh, of the season so far. Yeah, according to Aaron Schatz, Jaguars 57, so basically 60% chance of getting the playoffs with a win, under 20 with a loss. Chargers 90% with a win, closer to a coin flip with a loss. Huge game in the AFC. Give me the Jags catching 3 at home.
Yeah, it's kind of discouraging to see our Jags like just fumble away their freaking we were on them a bunch of stuff.
Make the playoffs over window.
Right. It's like, I mean, it was kind of bittersweet because I had the Texans for the pod last week, but I mean, Jesus, just like it just seems like Trevor Lawrence it just never comes together. I know he's missing guys, but oh man, it's just been a little bit disheartening. I don't think it's Cohen's fault either. I think it's just guys out there playing, but yeah.
Parker Washington also looks pretty good lately.
He looks real good. I like him. I like him a lot.
So if you got Washington, Thomas,
and
Myers out there with Strange back, and then a running game that you're going to have with Cohen against this defense, I think they'll be able to move the ball. And then you have an offense, which obviously is a better quarterback, but that doesn't have an offensive line. They have no tackles. They can't block. And the guy they were starting might not tackle the third string. He might not even play. So it's bad. And then the Jags can get pressure off the edge.
Yeah. No, I think I'm always low on the Chargers. I think they continue to be overrated. I mean, they just kind of bumbled and stumbled to that victory against the Steelers, who I'll talk about now. So let's get to it. For my third pick, the 6th and final pick of the Week 11 Sunday 6-pack, I'm going with the Pittsburgh Steelers minus 5.5 against the Cincinnati Bengals. And this might be an interesting one to some people, but I think that the Steelers, they've made some changes over the past few weeks. They kind of fell back a little bit into old habits last week on defense. I thought they still blitzed a little too much against Herbert. But the bottom line is the Steelers defense can get pressure. And this offense is going to be able to cook, especially against a Bengals defense that's just terrible against tight ends. That's
the Steelers.
They cannot cover tight ends. And the Steelers, they have 4 tight ends that they mix into their offense. Roman Wilson's starting to come along a little bit at receiver, and Austin's healthy as well. So, you've had some tougher matchups over the past few weeks. You played Green Bay, you played the Colts, and you played the Chargers defenses. Those are tough defenses. The Bengals defense, as you mentioned earlier, arguably the worst in the NFL. I know.
And no Hendrickson.
Yeah, no Hendrickson. And then you look on the other side. Okay, Bengals been hanging around. Joe Flacco reinvigorated this team. Yeah, whoop-de-doo. Okay, they get a late score to come within 9 of the Packers. Then they play 3 straight home games. So yes, they're coming off a bye, but now they're going on the road to Pittsburgh. In those 3 home games was that crazy game against the Steelers that I think, which is why this line hasn't gotten to 6. And then they they lose to the Jets and they lose to the Bears. They scored 38 and 42 points in those games. I don't think they're coming close to that against the Steelers defense, because the Steelers, unlike the Jets and the Bears, can get pressure, and they can do it without blitzing. They don't have to blitz. I know they've been blitzing too much. They've dialed it back a little. I'm hoping that after
they've also made some changes on the back end and some coverage things that I think have paid off.
They're playing just a lot smarter of a scheme, I thought, and I think they'll probably because they played 3 weeks ago and they gave up 33 points. I think that'll kind of make them make some changes. And last week against the Chargers, I thought they still blitzed too much. This team can, like, they have Watt, they have Hayward. They don't need to blitz. And when you look at the Bengals, okay, Flacco, and we're all excited that he's reinvigorated this offense. He's 40 years old. He cannot deal with pressure. Steelers are going to get pressure one way or another. They're going to get pressure, whether they blitz, whether they don't blitz. They're going to get pressure. Flacco under pressure with Cincinnati this year, 49 dropbacks, 17 of them have ended in a completion, 41.5% completion rate, 3.6 yards in attempt. One of his 11 touchdowns have come against pressure. Even when you blitz him, just one of his 11 touchdowns have come against the blitz. So I don't think Cincinnati's going to have the same, success on offense here if Pittsburgh plays a bit smarter on defense, just plays to their normal talent level, and, the home field's flip here. And then with Cleveland, Flacco is just as bad, 4.5 yards in attempt against pressure, 1 touchdown, 4 picks. So I think you're going to get turnovers here, and I think you're going to get a much easier matchup for the Steelers offense. That's not great, but not terrible either. And, they're starting to have guys, they're starting to have a third receiver emerge. They have 3 capable tight ends. And in this spot, they're talking about feeding Warren more, which I think is also very smart. Cincinnati might have to play Brown the whole game. They don't trust their backup. I don't think P. Ryan's going to go. It seems like he's going to miss some time with the ankle. So I just think that this could, strangely enough, even though they're coming off 2 horrible losses and a bye, this could still be the top of the market for the Bengals because they've scored 33, 38, and 42 in their last 3 games, and yet they are 1-2 in those games. So give me Pittsburgh to put up a big number and create some distance here in Pittsburgh against the Bengals.
Yeah, I thought about this one. Might end up playing it. I mean, especially if there's weather. The only thing I'm concerned about is like 2 old guys in the cold.
Sure.
But like if there's weather here, there's wind, there's a potential for like 20 mile an hour gusts, 10 to 15 mile an hour winds. Like, so it's bordering on impactful. That's going to hurt the Bengals so much more.
Mm-hmm.
And the Steelers can run it. They could just hand it off here and run all over Cincy's defense. They could just throw, and they throw short passes. That's all they do.
Yeah.
And they throw to their tight ends, which Cincy can't cover. And yeah, they're going to be able to get pressure on Flacco. I think the Steelers are a little cheap here. So I would agree with you.
All right, that is going to do it for our Week 11 6-pack. Let's see, you got McCarthy, you got who is it? Dylan Gabriel still, and Trevor. Oof, that I mean, statistically, those might, because Trevor's down there. I haven't looked at I was looking at the numbers heading into last week, and I remember Trevor was like 30th in EPA and all that stuff. So I don't know where he is now, but yeah, this is a little shaky. And then I got Mariota, 40-year-old Rodgers, and Baker, but with Baker with like half of his receivers. So yeah, not it's pretty on brand.
Pretty on brand.
Yeah. All right. Again, if you'd like to tail some of these pictures, look for the quick slip link in the podcast and video description. Make sure to sign up for Action Pro for instant notifications when all of our bets are tracked.